Hey, I'm Lockchain.
Hey, I'm Sydney, and this is Game Journal number 1.
In our game, you care for little creatures called Senzu who are far from home and need your help. Each Senzu will have their own personality and quirks. You'll be able to feed, water, and care for them while expanding your island, growing food, exploring space around you, and bonding with your Senzu. You'll find that as you bond with them, you'll unlock secrets that the Senzu hold and receive a power that will aid you in your quest. In our last episode, we started by creating the core concept art for the Senzu species and their home island. We scanned everything into Unity and added our first Senzu waffle. We got lots of feedback that you guys are excited for the game and can't wait to see as it progresses and as we refine our art, and we can't as well. Thank you for your support. However, it was actually pretty difficult to get started, not because of the code or anything else, but because my computer kept crashing because of NordVPN's app. So we finally got that uninstalled and we were good to go. We did add in the wandering movement for the Senzu, but we'll revisit and refactor it later to add in obstacle avoidance because right now they'll just slam into trees. The actual stars in the game scene were causing huge performance issues. It was at this point when we realized that the game needed to be in 3D with an orthographic view type camera to give it the kind of vibe that we're going for. We got it all reset up once again, and let me just tell you, I love the look of this. I am just so obsessed with how this looks. I think it looks really good, and it's only going to get better from here. Hopefully you guys like it as much as we do. Thank you so much for your support on the last video. We have a Discord community set up. We do regular behind the scenes updates about Senzu's current progress, any kind of community polls about different features, and it is a perfect place for you to suggest features and ideas. We do a lot of other fun things like weekly movie nights, and we'll be doing things like Senzu emoji competitions coming up. It's mostly just going to be me this video because I'm the one that handles all the programming and that kind of stuff, but we do see Sydney a little bit later on in the video. The first thing for this episode is we needed to get version control set up, so we just stopped losing any progress. We should have done this way before. Better late than never, and we shouldn't run into any more data loss in the future. Next on the things that I want to get done is tackle the health, thirst, and death, so that way we can at least have some kind of a basic Senzu to take care of. Health is actually pretty simple. You just have a total health and then a function that's able to be accessed by other attributes like hunger and thirst that can deplete the health if they're starving or dehydrated. Hunger and thirst are basically the same thing. Over time, every single second, a little bit ticks off and removes some hunger or thirst. And if they're starving or if they're dehydrated enough, then we grab that function from the health class and start removing some health. I created an animation that'll play when they do die, where the Senzu will just yeet themselves off the edge and return to their space mother. From everyone's suggestions in the Discord forum post as well as in the YouTube comments, we've decided to make hunger and thirst depletion time shorter as it'll keep the game more interactive early on while you're still unlocking things. Hunger will go from 100% to 0% in 10 minutes, and thirst will go from 100% to 0% in 5 minutes. And as you progress in the game, we plan to add things that you can craft like food and water bowls to extend that time. If you don't feed your Senzu while they're starving, then it'll take about 2 minutes for their health to go from 100% to 0, and about 1.5 minutes for dehydration. Since this is first and foremost a mobile game, I do not want trash controls. I want it to be seamless, I want it to work well, and I just want you to not realize that they're there. To do this, I set up a camera rig and we attached a couple of different states, and we switch between those depending on which state of the game you're actually in. And depending on the state, you'll either be able to do a pan movement or a touch and drag, or a zoom, as well as rotate. Halfway through the process of getting everything set up, switched over to the new input system. Turned out it wasn't for me, and we went back to the old one. Now, I personally think the actual touch controls are pretty intuitive, but if you've seen any of the developer memes with beta testers, look what I got you, oh my gosh. Do you know how to use it? Psh, duh. Hat. Oh my gosh. End user is seen by software developer. Okay, so it's like this. This is what I have in my head as well.
For some reason, when people in Pawnee use the water fountain, they put their mouths completely over the spouts.
Dude, that's it. You, as a developer, you make something, you give it to someone to test, and they do this. I am going to keep working on these to continue to dial them in there and just make them buttery smooth and perfect. Shoot. Right as I'm telling you this, I just realized there's a huge bug. Basically, I set all the controls to work with landscape, but not when we rotate the phone to portrait mode, because I do want you to be able to play in both orientations. It's okay. It's okay. Everything is fine. It's time to take a creative break.
So, you know when you're playing your favorite video game and the music just comes on and all of a sudden it like touches that part of your soul that you're like, ooh. For me, that was always Stardew Valley and Minecraft, Final Fantasy, but particularly Zelda. These games that we love have some of the best and most recognizable music in the world. Even though we are in the very, very early stages of Senzu, we wanted to start creating the music to set the vibe for the game. Both of us, not really being musicians at all, headed over to Chrome Music Labs and we started to work on some of the basic melodies that would fit the vibe of Senzu. It's still a work in progress, but this is what we have come up with for a main theme. Late at night after work, we would get bundled up because it is freezing cold and we would walk over to 7-Eleven to go get some Dr. Pepper Slurpees. And you know how when you walk through 7-Eleven, the door does its little chime? Well, this is our market song that we based on that. Now, if your Senzu gets too hungry or thirsty, this is the melody that we made, which you've already heard. We're going to keep working on the music and use an actual DAW that works with our MIDI and keep building on some of these ideas.
Does it still work? We've got code that procedurally generates like 1,500 stars on start. That doesn't work. We're throwing that out. We're starting over. We're going to create 3 image textures of a whole bunch of different stars of varying sizes. So we have a small, medium, and then large, and we could place them accordingly in the actual scene. Because they're a child of the camera, they move automatically with the camera and always stay in a fixed position. So to get the actual rotating effect, what we do is we get the change of the position of the camera and move in the opposite direction. So when the camera goes right, we go left. And so now we have this really cool omnidirectional treadmill. It's endless, it'll always loop, and it just looks like the vastness of space. But it's not done yet. We still need to get them so they move a little bit differently from the other image textures. All we actually do is we change the speed so each one's a little bit different, and you get this really cool effect. Render pipelines. What are they? I don't know. But we changed ours. So whatever the standard Unity default is, we changed it from that to the universal render pipeline. That's about it. Now that we can move around and our Senzu gets hungry and thirsty, we need a way that we can actually interact with them. First thing I can think of is feeding them. But before that, we need items and an inventory to be able to put the items in and bring them out. We also need a store where we can get the items from, at least for right now. I do want to implement some kind of crafting when we actually add in the ability to farm for food and things like that and cook, but we need this beforehand. We need a basic store and inventory with an actual menu. I love the amount of storage you get in Stardew Valley once you fully upgrade your backpack. However, I don't think it's a good mechanic, and it's actually kind of annoying that you do have to pay to upgrade your backpack, so we won't be doing that. I'll go ahead and add in 6 pocket slots and 20 backpack slots. And for this, I just created a simple UI canvas with an inventory slot prefab and duplicated it 26 times, added in a horizontal layer grouping, and this is what we have. I think it looks pretty good so far. We added in a menu button, so when you click it, opens up the backpack. We also have 3 other tabs, one for the Sendex, as well as one for the game settings. And this dark background actually doubles as a button, so when you click on it, it closes the menu. Graphically speaking, it's not the best, still work in progress. We'll keep on improving the graphics as we go along. Now that we actually have the UI set up for the inventory, the actual inventory itself is not so easy. Let's go ahead and set up our store, add in some items, create a scriptable object for the actual data, And cool, now we have a little store. I think it looks pretty cute. I love the hand-drawn aspect. We'll keep on improving the art as we go along. It's definitely got a good vibe going on. What do you guys think? Put it down in the comments as well as in the Discord. For the actual store, all we need to do is check to see if the item can go into the inventory slot or not. Simple enough, and so we go ahead and implement that. It just checks to see if the similar type of item is there. If not, we'll go into the next one and the next one, so on and so forth. And if it can't go in any of them, then it just cancels the whole thing. But for the actual movement of the items in the inventory and bringing them out of the inventory into the world, there's a couple different ways that games handle this. Like, for example, Minecraft. If you hit Q, it just jettisons the item into the world. It goes from UI to the world space and it just throws it there out in front of you. Actually, most games just do this. Why? Because after trying so many different ways on how to drag an item from UI to in the world, it is not easy, it's hard. It's just easy to pick some point that spawns the item in the world and just throw the item to that point. I want a little bit more control, and because of that, it's gonna take more time. Now, I wanted to go ahead and just spruce up the island, kind of let you guys know that we will be able to expand it. Even though there isn't code to be able to increase the actual size of the island yet, we are going to be able to. And so I went ahead, just for the pure aesthetic, added a couple of additions to it, added some more trees, added the grass, and rearranged the trees so they're not all identically the same. We added in the lightning bugs, and I fixed the script so that it'll turn each one of those on at nighttime, and this is what it looks like now. What you guys saw in the thumbnail. See, all the lightning bugs are going on, all the trees still rotate. Eventually, yeah, we will be able to collect resources and actually expand your home starting island and do other things like explore, but till then, this looks pretty cool. In the next video, we're going to tackle completing the entire inventory system, moving things from the inventory into the world, picking things up, as well as being able to actually interact with our Senzus and feed them. Thank you so much for watching and following along on our journey. We really appreciate it. Make sure and like and subscribe.
Leave any more ideas down in the comments below.
Peace.
Peace.